Hey, today, do you have all the shots? How to avoid the shrimp iceberg? And we'll continue talking about how you can climb that cooking ladder. Today on Tuesday Talk Live, hey everyone, it's Chef Todd Moore. We're back together again today. It's a warm one here in downtown Baltimore. I'll tell you, last week of the summer that we're getting into, and it's summer. It's always a shame when summer ends to me. Welcome everyone. Hi Jerry. Hi Alan. Hi Guy is with us. People from all over. By the way, we are live right now, but if you're watching, if this is not noon on Tuesday and you're watching it as a replay, that means you never went to webcookingclasses.com/live to register for my alert system, so you'll know 15 minutes beforehand when we're going live and you can get all your questions asked. Iceberg is with us as well. Hopefully I pronounce that correctly. Joan and Carol have joined us. Hi Michael, that's good. So go to webcookingclasses/live and you'll get my alerts. It's like the bat signal kind of thing, because every Tuesday at noon the Carefree cooks are together. We create our own recipes. We bring our friends and family together around food and cooking. Importantly, we learn every time we cook. It's not the same frustrating treadmill, and a Carefree cook has their own cooking style, ultimately because they practice pro methods, and Carefree cooks love their cooking. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you have no idea what Carefree cooking is, well, I'm going to tell you toward the end today how to get your own path, your own guidebook to Carefree cooking, and I'll tell you about that later on. Today, we also have a true or false, the true or false right here. Okay, so is this statement food true or food false? And the statement is, the color of an egg is determined by the breed of the hen, not what the chicken ate. True or false? I'll give you the answer at the end. Is the statement true or false? All right. Hey, everyone. We're together again. Kathleen is with us. Very good. Diane is joining us. Hi, James. Excuse me. Hi, Harleen, and Christopher is with us as well. This is really cool. These Tuesday Talk Lives are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, so thank you for sharing them. Thank you for telling your friends about them. Thank you for the little hearts that I get that float by. I see them, and I see all your questions as well. So, one of my great questions for you today is the idea of having all the shots. Do you have all the shots? I'm not talking about immunizations, all right? I don't need to know your medical record. That's not the kind of shots that I'm talking about. In your arsenal, in your toolbox, do you have all the shots? Because I said, sadly, summer is coming to the end, and I'm a big tennis fan. Have always been since I was a little kid. And to me, there's a sadness to the U.S. Open. There's, of course, everyone that loses, there's a sadness to them. But for me, even as a kid, like I grew up watching all the great tennis players, and John McEnroe and Edberg and Lendl and Connors, and I mean, going way back, wooden rackets is what I used to watch. But the final of the U.S. Open was always like the next day I went back to school. So I have this association as summer being over in the U.S. Open. But so I've been watching tennis. And I hear the commentators all the time say, oh my goodness, Serena, she really has all the shots, right? You've got to have a powerful serve. You're never going to win the U.S. Open if you don't have all the shots, if you don't have a powerful serve, right? Well, what else do you need? You need that good, strong volley at the net. Oh, that Nadal, boy, he's got all the shots. That was a tricky one up at the net. That Federer, he's got that high backhand volley. That's a shot that few other people has, but man, he has all the shots, right? And you got to have the overhead smash. Oh, she has that one in her arsenal now. She practiced all winter long. Last year, says the commentator, she didn't have that shot, but now she has all the shots. So I start thinking about this while I'm watching tennis. And of course, I'm always thinking about cooking, right? I made some great oven-fried wings. Web cooking classes students know about my oven-fried wings. But I'm thinking about this when it comes down to cooking. So is cooking about following the recipes? Is the best cook the one that follows the instructions best? Is the best tennis player the one that's read the most books about tennis? I don't think it works that way. You know, I've met some brilliantly read chefs that don't know their way around a commercial kitchen. And then I've met guys who work their way up from dishwasher who are just brilliant in getting things done. They have all the shots. So are you reading about the shots that you would need, or are you practicing the shots you would need? Because if you want to win the US Open, or if you want to be a tremendous home cook and be so proud of what you cook and impress others with your cooking, I see it as a toolbox. You know, it's a combination of the shots that you have. All right, let's change the word shots. Let's call it the techniques, skills. What might be a better word? Methods, maybe? Maybe cooking just comes down to like a toolbox of methods, the things that you can do. First on my list would be, do you know the difference between direct heat and indirect heat? Can you anticipate when you put something on a grill versus when you put something in an oven what the difference in cooking will be? Can you look at a product and know that this should go in a saute pan or on the grill versus it should be smoked, steamed, or put in an oven? That's one of the shots that you need to be able to look at the food and do the overhead smash or do the backhand volley, right? Another thing, can you make compound flavors? Can you make compound fats and butters and oils? This is one of the tricky shots. This is when somebody eats your chicken and goes, oh my goodness, how did you get that flavor in there? I don't see bits of garlic, but it has such a wonderful garlic flavor. How about a compound pat of butter on the steak that you grilled? Now you're using the direct conductive heat of the barbecue grill to put those beautiful grill marks on it, and you've got another shot. Too, you've got the ability to make compound flavors. That's one of the shots that you might need. How about moist cooking? This is a shot that a lot of home cooks ignore entirely. They just think if you boil something, you put it in water, you apply as much heat as you can. No. There's a big difference between boil, simmer, and poach. There are 3 different moist cooking methods. Actually, only 2 of them are methods. One of them isn't. But it's like having the backhand volley, the drop shot, and the overhead smash. You need all 3 of these if you're going to be a skilled cook. How about cooking with herbs and spices? I would say that's one of the most important. It's like having a serve in tennis, right? Being able to put the artist's final signature on the bottom of the dish, you know, the correct use, knowing the difference between herbs and spices, first of all, knowing the difference between seasoning and flavoring, and knowing when to add herbs and when to add spices, or in what combination to use them and add them. This is another important shot if you want to be the champion of cooking in your own home, the US Open champion of cooking in your own home, for that matter. Can you tell when something is done? Can you cook something to a precise doneness? Could you take 5 steaks and have the person who likes it rare and the person who likes it well and all the people in between be very, very happy? How about the shots involved with making sauces? Soups, stocks, and sauces. I always put the 3 of them together. They're really the same shot. Can you make bone broths and flavorful liquids? Can you make soups and sauces? We've had a lot of discussions in our community this week about the difference between bisques and chowders. How do you create one versus the other? Then somebody threw in a discussion of gumbo and etouffee, and all these things branch out, but they're all shots, knowing how to thicken a liquid. How about cold sauces? Can you make mayonnaise? Can you make your own dressings? Don't buy dressings in a bottle. They're just too easy to make. How about marinades to tenderize things? We're not even getting into knife skills. I mean, knife skills is an important shot. And then we're not even going to talk about baking today, because there's a whole nother set of shots when you get into baking. So here's the thing I want you to think about this week. Are you missing the shots? Like, I'll be watching tennis this weekend, and the guy will blow it on the low volley at the net. He'll dump it right into the net. Another woman will double fault multiple times in a match, and she'll lose the match. Somebody else, the pressure will get to them that they'll crack and break. They can't take it. These are the shots that they've got to work on for the next tournament. They've got to strengthen that shot. So in your wide realm of cooking and where you want to get to in your personal cooking, what's the next shot that you could add? What's the next skill, tool in your toolbox kind of thing? Not that you have to learn a grand item. Make a garlic butter. That's a new shot. You put that in your toolbox and you take it back out next time you need to do something. So start asking yourself, do I have all the shots? Are there things that I want to be able to do? And one of these things is being able to identify ingredients and knowing how to avoid the shrimp iceberg. If your cooking is like the Titanic, you don't want to hit the shrimp iceberg. And I see this all the time, and it drives me absolutely nuts. I go into the grocery store and I get a bag of shrimp like this. Now, normally I try and go to the fish market or to the farmer's market on the weekend and buy them as fresh as I can. But oftentimes I'll go to the grocery store. And I don't know if you notice here, this line on the bottom, it says individually quick frozen. This is IQF. If you buy frozen seafood in a grocery store and it's packed like this and you see the letters IQF, this stands for individually quick frozen. And this is a gigantic pet peeve of mine because people are wasting grocery money on bad shrimp. Let's examine these three letters, okay? F for the frozen. Anything in the frozen section is probably frozen. That's pretty good. Q for the quick. Quick frozen. Okay, you may never know whether it was frozen quickly or not, but the I is the most important part. Individually. If you go to your grocery store and your bag of shrimp is in one big lump, right? If it's a big ice cube of shrimp, that's not individually frozen. What that says to me is that item may have been individually frozen, like these shrimp right here. If you shake the bag of IQF shrimp, they should move around. They should all be individual. Again, this drives me crazy. So if you take your bag of shrimp and it's one big lump ice shrimp cube, that means it's defrosted and then slowly refrozen on the truck or in the warehouse. All the moisture melted and refroze. So if they're not individual, IQF, individual, is the most important letter, because I would even take it if they were defrosted. You know, they would still be individual. I still don't know if it's quick or not, but they're not frozen. I would take that. I would take any of those letters being slightly twisted other than the individual. So when you see fish fillets that are stuck together in the bag, if you're buying crawfish or anything like that, make sure that they're loose, make sure that they're individual. That's the important part. That's how you avoid the shrimp iceberg, because you crash into it and what you wind up with is shrimp that have been frozen maybe on the boat, then defrosted and refrozen, potentially defrosted and refrozen again, and that's just not the highest quality item that you want for your cooking, right? So these two things kind of go together. How do you get up to the next rung on your cooking ladder? I've asked you in past weeks to identify what level of cook you are and what level of cook you want to be. And from here, the next step is a very easy answer. Start adding these shots that I talked to you about. Start adding the small techniques. You don't need a full culinary education to be a great cook. A compound butter might do it for you, for 1 week. And then next week, you're going to want to know how to make your sauces a little silkier. And then the next week, you're going to want to know how to tenderize a tougher, cheaper cut of meat and come out with something really great. Each of those is going to entail some research. Each of them is going to be another gun in your holster. How many metaphors can I come up with? It's another shot. It's another tool in your toolbox. It's another thing that will progress your cooking. So if you want to step up the ladder from a level 1 or level 2 cook to a level 3 or level 4 cook, it has so much to do with the number of shots in your toolbox, which brings us to the Carefree Cooks slideshow this week. There is so much going on in our Carefree Cooks community. My mom talked endlessly about this one. This is Alan. Alan did a sautéed chicken livers with bacon, mushrooms, onion, garlic, organic baby spinach over angel hair pasta, tossed with herbs, cheeses, and even eggs, like a hard-boiled egg to garnish. Let's count how many shots it takes to make this dish. I mean, this is some skilled cooking here. Sautéing the chicken livers, knife skills for the mushrooms, and mushrooms are much more delicate than onions and garlic. Spinach is a very delicate item. Like when you add these things to the pan, when you know that they're cooking, think about all the moisture that a mushroom is going to put out under direct conductive heat. Think about all the moisture that spinach puts out, you know? This is at least 3 or 4 shots that are in here, and this is how Alan is progressing as a carefree cook. Anne did a grilled chicken breast with a Spanish herb combo. Those 3 words enticed me so much on this post. Her Spanish herb combo. How does she know? How does she know which herbs go together to make a Spanish herb combo? It might not be what a Spaniard says, but it's good for her, right? It's good in her house good. So her Spanish herb combo is what she's done trial and error before, and she has developed this shot, right, to put this Spanish herb combo together. She did scallop potatoes with a peppercorn ranch dressing that had onions, herbs, bacon bits with green beans, carrots, and a peachy salad with a raspberry vinaigrette. Count the shots in there. You know, she had to know how to make a raspberry vinaigrette. She had to know how to cut and peel peaches. She had to know how to cut the carrots. She had to know how to grill for the chicken breast. It's impressive, isn't it? This is the way I look at cooking. This is the way I want you to look at cooking, as all these things coming together. It's not one recipe that you follow, but it's 8 skills that all come together again. Terry Lewis. Terry's making great use out of leftovers. He had some leftover chicken thighs. He had some spaghetti. He knows how to saute. He puts it together with some onions and some garlic. He had some purple peppers that he julienne, diced mushrooms. He had veggie stock because he doesn't just throw out ends of vegetables and put them in the landfill in the trash. He makes a flavorful liquid out of them because later he knows that he's going to have some leftovers and he's going to add some flavor to it. This is how carefree cooks think, right? He had some leftover tomato sauce in there. James is one of our carefree cooks as well. He's using a leftover brat for breakfast the next day. He made bratwurst, and he's going to scramble it up with chilies, tomatoes, onions from the garland, homemade salsa verde, Colby Jack cheese. These are multiple skills coming together. Heber Soto is a brand new carefree cook. He has just joined our community, and I'm so impressed with his progress so far, because he admitted that it took him 4 tries to get a perfectly poached egg. He didn't say, oh, I joined these classes and I'm instantly a carefree cook and I did it the first time and it's like a magic trick. No, he knows that this is a journey, and one of the skills you need is to be able to poach an egg perfectly in a moist cooking method and to be able to fry an egg perfectly in a dry conductive cooking method. The guy's progressing. That's 2 more skills, 2 more shots he's got to bring to the game, to be a champion, right? Helen is with us. She's grilling a New York strip steak perfectly. Look at those beautiful grill marks on that steak. That's a skill. That's a shot to be able to grill mark your steaks. You're proud once you can do that. You put it in your toolbox. You got that shot in your tennis bag with your rackets and stuff. You move on to the next day because you might have to take it out again, right? Adam Price is doing cod. Now, I thought this was a particularly interesting dish because he baked the cod, okay? He roasted it. He doesn't have a lot of color on that cod, right? You would need a more direct cooking process. He would have to have broiled that cod or sautéed it or grilled it, something with direct heat. He chose to roast it in the oven, so he knows that he's not going to get as much color on it, but he needs color on his plate, so he pairs that with this black forbidden rice. That's another skill. How to make or exotic grains, how to skillfully make rices so you're not putting out gelatinous lumps of stuff. So the contrast of the relatively bland colored but highly flavored cod against the black rice, Brilliant. I mean, that's carefree cooking to me right there. There's no recipe for that. You can't find that in a book somewhere. Nancy, she had some leeks. She had some potatoes. She had some leftover broccoli. What do? You puree it up and make vichyssoise, right? These are the things that are just looking at you. When you're a carefree cook, the ingredients talk to you. What's the shot that Nancy has? She knows how to make pureed soups. She knows how to make thickened soups. She's not afraid of it, right? She goes forward. She doesn't need a book. She didn't need to go research it at all. The ingredients spoke to her. She's a carefree cook. And this is the one that blew my mind this week. Don is omnipresent in the Carefree Cooks community, and he is really pushing the envelope because now, you talk about an advanced skill, Don is working with sugar stages, temperature stages of sugar when you boil sugar. And this is a study that chefs study for years. I mean, people that are good with sugar, this is a shot that they may never develop, but Don is making cayenne caramels with a pretzel bacon crust, and they don't last very long, I'm sure. He says he brings them to work and they're gone. Cayenne caramels with a pretzel bacon crust. I'll say that again. Working with sugar, that's an advanced shot. And you know, this is why I say that this is always a journey. That there is no one magic trick to great cooking. Everyone does it personally. What's good to you is good to you, and I'm proud of you for it. I'm proud of anyone who is trying to get better, anyone who is trying to get the next rung up on that cooking ladder because of just the one shot that they would have added to their repertoire this week. So what are you going to add? What shot are you going to add? Who's talking to me today? Let's see if I can get these comments. Boy, a lot of people with us today. This is so cool. They're getting bigger and bigger. Hi, Maria. I see you. I've scrolled all the way down and lost connectivity, but she is here with us again. That's good. We got some guesses for the true and false. Don't forget about the true and false. If you joined us late, let me see if I can find it. There it is. Here's our true or false today. The color of an egg is determined by the breed of the hen and not what the chicken eats. That's our true or false. So give me your answers there. Any questions? Nuri is with us from Germany. Hi, Nuri. You might get the prize for furthest from Baltimore. Jerry's doing some good color on his food. Jerry's answering questions. Thanks, Jerry. Carol says on a TV program, someone was criticized for frying mushrooms, which went quite small. They were told they should have grilled them first, so they kept their shape. Would I agree with that? Well, it depends what you're cooking. Like, this is one of the big problems with a stir fry. Let's get rid of that for a minute. When you're doing like a stir fry, I had a question this week from someone. What's the difference between saute and stir frying? Is one in a wok and the other is in a saute pan? One is higher heat, one is more oil, one is less oil. Yes, all those things potentially could be true. I don't care what you call it. You know, I don't care what the shape of the pan is. When you put something made out of metal on fire and the metal gets really hot and then you cook food in it, to me that's direct conductive cooking. Call it wok, call it saute, it doesn't matter. But what does matter is an onion is much tougher than a mushroom. A carrot is much tougher than zucchini. So the best stir fry actually par cooks all the items first. I would steam the carrots. I might grill mark the mushrooms or saute them quick and then cool them. And then at the very end, you're simply combining. When you go to a Chinese restaurant or one of the chains, the P.F. Chang's or something like that, all that prep is done. They don't start with raw broccoli. They start with blanched broccoli that's then going to go into the stir fry. So Carol is asking me a question. Would I criticize that person? Certainly, if they threw mushrooms and onions and carrots and broccoli and asparagus into a pan at the same time, they're not thinking forward. They're not anticipating the effects of heat on food. And that, to me, like I said, is the number one shot. Is anticipating the effects of heat on food. So I either would have par cooked those items or I would have put the mushrooms in at the very, very end because they're going to get that small in that regard. Good question, Carol. Thank you. Love it. Yeah, Alan's chicken livers. My mom has not stopped talking about that. She is now lurking in our group, by the way, since the live last week, since she jumped in the camera. She's all about our Carefree Cooks community, and that's great. Yes, knife skills, very important, Don. No doubt. Kathleen's weakness is not knowing the taste of certain herbs. All right, that's fair. And a lot of people are in the same boat. So the first thing is taste them, okay? The second thing is when you're making any kind of dish that you're making, here's good advice on training your palate. If you're making any kind of dish, don't just throw all the seasonings in the big pot of the dish and guess at it. Take some of your sauce out, or cut a little piece of the chicken or something, and test. When we're in the commercial kitchen, and this is where this comes from, just imagine that I'm making like 30 to 50 gallons of soup, which I have, right? I was a chef at some very large institutions. Say I'm making 50 gallons of soup, and I over-season it. Oh, what a disaster, right? You can always put more in, you can't take it out. So when I'm looking for combinations of things, I would ladle a little bit into a ramekin, and I would look at the relative proportion of what I'm doing. It's just a little pinch of this and a little pinch of that, and taste it. That's the best way to do it. Then I would go at the 50-gallon steam jacket kettle, add, taste, until I get it to that point. It is really just a training your palate kind of thing, Kathleen, because everybody's taste is different. When I was a chef at an assisted living home, older people, much older people, their taste buds are shot. Like the combinations that I would use for me, I don't mean to offend anybody, but it was a bigger challenge to over-season for an assisted living home. Over-season when I was executive chef at a hospital for the elder care. So it's a very personal thing, but the way to find out for yourself is that little ramekin of part of your dish and test on that. So that's the way I would do that. Good. Anne says she's going to start using compound flavors and clarified butter. That's a good way to do. That's a step up the ladder for you. Good deal. Making butter fresh is a very good idea as well. Let me make sure, refresh my page, getting to everyone's questions today. Let's see, make sure I see everyone. Kathleen, that's whose answer I was. Anne loves basil and rosemary. Good combination. I like basil and oregano. That says Italian to me, no matter what I'm cooking. Carol grew giant basil. Good. A lot of pesto in Carol's house, I bet. My son wants to watch your vids with me. His girlfriend likes shrimp too. That's cool. Thanks, Ann. Yeah, anytime you can get your family involved in watching some of my videos, involved in cooking by method rather than recipe, they're going to be a lot happier. They're going to charge. They're going to enjoy their food a lot more. Heber is asking, how long would chicken stock last in the fridge? In the refrigerator, only a few days, but you can certainly freeze it. If you want to can it or jar it, you need a pressure canning system. You can't just hot water can protein products. My advice would be to put it into plastic zip bags and put it in your freezer. I keep in my freezer right now, I have chicken stock, I have lamb stock, I have beef stock, I have shrimp fumet, I have probably a veggie stock as well in Ziploc bags, always in my freezer ready to go. So I would suggest freezing it. I would not put it in the refrigerator, only a few days. Good afternoon, Van from Chesapeake, Virginia, down the road. Caroline from Nova Scotia, way up the road. I'm going to get to the true and false pretty soon. I think I've covered most people's questions. We're getting to the end. Terry's with us from Ontario. That's good. I think I have got everyone's question. If I haven't, I will get right back on and make sure I get to your answer in the texting. So the true and false today, eggs are dictated by the breed of the chicken. Plain and simple. Now, the yolk, the color of the yolk is dictated on what they eat. What you want to look for, I prefer brown eggs. Now, most of the grocery store eggs are white. So I don't buy them, but it's not to say that all white eggs are bad. Buy a fresher egg. I prefer brown eggs because those are the fresher ones that I get from, but you can get these slightly green eggs, these speckled eggs, things like that. The color of the shell. People tell me all the time, a brown egg is a better egg than a white egg. A brown egg is fresher. Or no. It's just, you can't tell an egg by its color. So it more has to do with the breed of the hen. The bird that laid the egg is going to dictate the shell color. But the color of the yolk, you will see very bright orange yolks on a corn-fed chicken. You will see duller colored yolks. The older the egg gets as well, the duller the color gets. So the answer to the true or false this week is true. That's right. The color has to do simply by the hen. And as I mentioned before, if you want to begin your own path to becoming a carefree cook, there are some decisions you're going to have to make. And at each fork in this road, I'll help you make the right decision. And you can get my free guidebook, The 5 Forks to Carefree Cooking, when you go to webcookingclasses.com. Thanks, everyone. It's been another great Tuesday Talk Live. We'll see you around the internet. I'll meet you here next Tuesday when we got some fantastic things to talk about. But until then, this is Chef Todd reminding you that there's a method to your cooking success. Bye-bye, everyone.